Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 1. Today I'm talking about Chapter 6, An Exorcism in Greendale. In this episode we see Harvey, Roz, and Susie explore a mysterious force of evil. Sabrina digs deeper into Miss Wardwell's intentions, and Hilda starts a new beginning. Yeah, so I just finished rewatching this episode, and I enjoyed this episode because we get a witch exorcism, which we learn in this episode is something that witches aren't really supposed to be able to perform because that's a Catholic rite, which is just something I never really thought about before, but it does make sense. You need a priest to do it, so obviously a witch couldn't do it, so I guess supernatural is what messed me up on that, because those boys do exorcism every which way, and neither of them are ordained from what I remember. Anyways, we're not talking about that, we're talking about Sabrina. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Sabrina at first having to try to throw her friends off the trail of this demon that's possessing one of their uncles, but then eventually she's kind of not gives in, but kind of concedes that they could be right about this being something more, and then she gets enough information to go leave them behind and go solve it herself with the help of her family and Miss Wardwell, aka Madam Satan, who in this episode does a whole lot of trying to trying to build trust with Sabrina. And at first it's not working, but by the end it does, with her helping with the exorcism, giving Sabrina this exorcism, which was from her father apparently, which I don't believe it was, but I don't really know. I'm not that big of an expert. But anyway, some of the things I enjoyed about this episode, besides them doing the demon exorcism, was that we got all that. One point I saw that the Spellmans all can understand Salem's meows. So that was one thing I did not notice when I first watched this show. When I first binged it, I never really connected the fact that Salem would meow and that they were picking up what he was saying. So I like that, because Salem in the comic and in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch show, he talked. So I like that at least the witches can understand what he's saying, so they just give the cat meowing. So I like that. I like that they didn't go goofy and try to give it a voice. It does kind of have a voice at one point in the first season, but that was before he's a cat. But yeah, I just really enjoyed that. I kind of feel stupid for not noticing it before, but that's a good thing about rewatching these things, is notice these little tiny things like that. So I enjoyed that, and I like that it's not just Sabrina who could understand Salem. It's all the Spellmans, at least. So it seems like all witches probably can understand Salem's meows. So that was just an interesting little bit I noticed in this episode. Another couple things I noticed in this episode, and some people may not think this is that weird for it to be popping up, because obviously this is part of that, but there was a few Archie comic references in this episode. At one point in Harvey's bedroom we see a Archie Comics poster, and then at another point at the end of the episode we see Luke reading a Archie comic as well. And I just found this very weird, because how does Archie Comics exist in this universe? Because Sabrina's in that comic, but that doesn't make sense. Why is there a comic book based on her life? Is she just happen to be living the same life, or is it a different comic book? I just thought that was a little weird. And yes, they don't exclusively say this takes place in the same universe as even the Riverdale show, and the Riverdale show is very different from the Archie comics, especially the ones they show references to in this one. But it's still just a little weird thing, because it's with Marvel and DC it makes sense, because yeah, there'd be comic books about superheroes, they're public figures, but these are a bunch of teenagers. Why is there a comic about their life within the same universe that they live? That was just a little strange to me, but I just noticed that. But obviously they just put it in there as a little fun reference to the fact that she originally appeared in those Archie comics. But I just think it's a little funny, just logically trying to think about how Archie Comics fits into Archie Comics the universe, and i.e. the Sabrina universe. I don't know if that's the proper use of IE. Anyways, I just enjoyed that part. But yeah, and that was all my general thoughts about this episode. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about this episode of Sabrina. Thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Have a good one.